Look at that. The magic. Let me just do one thing. Oh, let me turn these on. There we go. Let me turn that off. Countdown off. There. The magic of the internet. Everything's working. I can't believe it. Everything's working fine. All the software I'm using.
Don't say that.
Don't
say that.
My internet's working. This is great. This is fantastic. It's like having a TV station in your house. When I was a kid. It's
crazy, isn't it?
It is. It is. When I was a single digits, I was a ham radio operator. And it was the same kind of thing where you could talk, well, you could listen to the world in those days, shortwave radio. After the sun went down, you had to wait till the sun went down before you can get
really?
it, and then you could broadcast locally, Morse code or whatever. And I've renewed my ham radio operator's license. I've renewed it in the last couple of years during COVID. I said, let me go ahead and take the test and study and all that. So I got it again.
I have
but if you, yeah.
3 radios in a Pelican case in the garage, complete with the big antennas and everything that I just have to put back together. I bought them on Nextdoor from an ex-Navy communicator that had them and didn't want them anymore. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give one to each of my kids. And if there's ever an emergency, I'll be able to talk to them.
Yeah, you don't want to use those. That's against the law. You need a license for that.
I'm going to get a license.
Okay.
Besides that, if everything hits the fan, who's going to be monitoring it?
Yeah, exactly. During an emergency, I wouldn't worry about it. But any other time,
right?
Because they can trace you. They can just. That's not science fiction. That's real life.
It's true.
We got our first comment here.
It's been necessary 30 years ago. Seeing in front of us now, our studio with the host, then we'd have to have a truck in every location with some pretty heavy cables running in to the building, 3 or 4 lights up to get enough light level in the room, upping the HVAC to make that work, 3 people out in the truck to make it all work. So we were looking at maybe 30 people to make this work, and several million dollars worth of equipment and a budget of probably $500,000. Because you'd have to have another truck for the satellite uplink too. I forgot about that in each location. And now it's it's a built-in camera that is, by the way, only about 8 times better than the best camera you could get at that time. And there are no other people here, and there's no extra lighting.
Wow. So one of the things we're doing today, we're giving away 2 passes to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit.
Ooh, nice.
Okay. So there's a couple of things. If you want the pass, there's a couple of things. You have to be going to the summit. Don't take the pass if you're not going to get a hotel and you're not going to get transportation. You need to do those 2 things. Otherwise, you're wasting somebody who wants it. But I mean, I don't know who this person is, but I already got this. If you want to pass to the summit, you've already got it. I'm going to put this up to whoever this is. Richard, are you Taylor Swift's father? I wish I was. I guess she doesn't have any animosity towards her father. So.
Yes, she does, actually.
Does she? Well, then in that case.
I'm kidding.
Stepfather. So we got another comment here. Hi from LA and also a ham radio operator. NCFWU. Mine is, let me see. I have to think about it. KC3 RTV. That's what it is.
Start a
KC3
for techies that are into ham radios. Wouldn't that be?
Yeah, you got to pass a test. I mean, you got to study. No, I'm saying I took the classes to renew, because it's all different, of course, from when I was a kid. And I took the classes, and actually I got 100% on the test, and they were like, "Wow, you should go ahead and take the advanced test." I said, "No, it's not the way I got 100%. I studied for this test. I didn't study for the advanced test." They said, "You ought to take it. You ought to take it." They said, "No, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to study for it and try to pass it the same way." So we got
just hire Chat GPT to take your test.
No, you got to do it in person. Yeah, of course. So we are all going to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, all four of us.
Yep.
That is a big, big thumbs up for me because 2019, it's been 4 years since the last time we got, as Philip said, he calls it the Final Cut Pro Family Reunion.
Yep.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, obviously there'll be a different group of people, except for us. We'll all be there. Different groups of people that'll be there. And I know because I had the Aussies on a couple weeks ago that Chris Hawking is going to be there for the first time. He's coming.
Oh, cool.
So,
Great.
yeah. Ian Anderson's going to be there, and then Lee Herbert's going to be there. They've been there for the last couple of times. And then Chris Hawking's going to be there. So that's 3 of them from Australia. If they can come from Australia, look, they can come from Australia. Their plane ride is 15, 16 hours. It's expensive. You can come from the United States or other places, right?
I know of
That's
two coming
right.
from Germany.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Robin and Oliver. Both
I
coming.
think Southwest is doing a sale right now too. You might be able to get some really cheap flights.
They have that sale. I get that email
They have a sale all the time, don't they?
every week. $49 when they go check on it. It's not $49.
It's $149.
There's some reject flights that they have for $49. But so when I came in 2019, for the first time, there was a nonstop. Southwest had a nonstop into San Jose. They don't have that anymore. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to go to not SFO because they didn't have a nonstop there either. What's the other one across the bay from SFO? The other Oakland.
No, it's Oakland.
Yeah,
I was
Oakland.
saying, yeah, Oakland.
So I'm flying into Oakland.
From DC. I'm going to be flying from DC, transferring in Denver, and then going on from there because I have a shoot in DC. By the way, Eric said hi from Florida. Hi, Eric.
Absolutely. Yep. Hi from Florida, Ontario, Canada, and also from California. And another one from California, Oakland. He said he gave the answer, Oakland. So
There you go.
when I booked my ticket, I'm like, I want a direct flight. And United had one. And then I went back and said, wait a minute. They said there's 3 airports you can go to. And I didn't know Oakland was one. So I checked Oakland and Southwest flew into there direct. I said, there you go. I'll take the longer trip. I don't like going up and going down. I'm going up and going down.
And a longer trip on the other end. I mean, Oakland's a fair way from where the venues are. So.
Right. Well, it's same distance. It's 2 or 3 miles distance at SFO. And I used to go in
That'd be
SFO.
about right.
I used to go in SFO before they had a direct flight to San Jose. So, Brad, what's
Just
up
have
with
to
you?
Go over the bridge, right?
What's up with me?
Yeah.
Going to the Final Cut Creative Summit. I don't know. I've been developing a project that's a narrative film. That's about all I'm going to say. It's a horror comedy, and been doing some location scouting and having fun with the script. So mostly just that. I actually haven't been doing a lot of editing, but I've been doing a little bit of workflow consultation with some people that are friends of ours. I don't know.
So, are you shooting this with your camera?
I'm gonna shoot next year, and I'm still back and forth about what I want to shoot. It's mostly outside in the mountains.
Okay.
A friend of mine has a family property that we're hoping to nail down, and because of that, and because of a bit of hiking involved, I will at least be using iPhones, the newer iPhones, for some of the filming,
Right.
if not all of it.
Right.
But I got to see how well it does outside during the day, if it's going to overheat or run out of battery too quickly or something like that. So I've got to test it. But you sent me some clips to play with, Richard, and that was
Right.
one of my tests to see how the ProRes log compares to the old HEVC or even ProRes in the 14 Pro that I have, but it's not log. And I feel like it's a huge leap. It's so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I've gone from telling people that iPhone, footage is good for a phone to it's
Right.
just good. It just looks good. I wouldn't say that it's, better than getting like a full frame sensor camera or something
No,
like that, or
no.
you've got special lenses, but honestly, it holds up. Like if I saw iPhone ProRes log footage and didn't know it was coming from a phone, I wouldn't think it was from a phone.
It's pretty amazing. It is pretty darn amazing. Since I've started shooting it, now I have a tendency to shoot it all the time because I was telling Brad off the air, with my 1 terabyte drive on my new iPhone 15 Pro Max, I can shoot 3 hours of ProRes log HQ. 3 hours internally. You don't need, people think you need an external drive. You do not need an external drive except for 60p. And I never shoot in 60p. I shoot 24 most of the time. So, I mean, I would if I had a special purpose, if I wanted to slow it down or whatever, but it's amazing. It doesn't have the sharpening that the typical iPhone. It doesn't have the color shifting people talk they didn't like about it, the color shifting, the automatic stuff. So for some things, I'll be shooting the Apple ProRes log.
Well, you pair that with a Blackmagic camera app, and you have full control, and it's that app is absolutely insane. I've got that on my 14 Pro, and even
it's
just
amazing.
That upgrade is huge. I think in a workflow, if I were to make a shorter feature and decide to shoot it all on iPhones, I would opt to do the USB-C drives, just because for media management and where you might, my thought is if a phone does lose battery or overheats, you just pull out another phone and plug the drive into it and keep filming. And so from a workflow standpoint,
well, they only have 1
resource.
terabyte. They don't have 2 terabyte.
Oh, they don't have a 2 terabyte. They should get it. They have 2 terabyte iPads.
Yes.
Yeah. I've got the one. I just got mine, Richard, and I watched your YouTube video, and I bought all those little peripherals to build a little Insta360 gimbal. But I also have the DJI gimbal, which I really love a lot.
Yeah, either one.
Yeah. So I got all those little tiny pieces. They're sitting on my dining room. I'm going to be shooting in Washington, D.C. the end of the month for a week. I'm shooting the veterans. It's the last images for this 10-year odyssey on the Purple Heart. But I'm going to shoot, and tell me if you have any advice. I'm going to be shooting on the Blackmagic G26K and combining that with the iPhone for some behind the scenes. So I'm figuring I'll do the sit-down interviews, nice and well lit. These are older veterans, so I have to be very delicate with them. So we'll do the sit-down lit interviews with the Blackmagic camera, but then the rest of the week, if I'm running around, then I'll use the iPhone for behind the scenes, and I think it's going to be beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll be shooting.
I'll give you
Brad?
one heads up about the Blackmagic 6K cinema camera, which looks incredible. Cannot shoot ProRes. It is Blackmagic RAW or H.264. I think maybe anyway. It's HEVC H.264 and Blackmagic RAW, but no ProRes.
Well, we've had this discussion before. I really like the Blackmagic RAW. I don't have any problems with it. I like it.
Brad,
except for you can't use it in Final Cut natively.
Well, why do you think that happened? Why do you think they dropped ProRes? All their other cameras shoot ProRes. Not ProRes RAW, but just ProRes.
I don't know.
For Resolve.
I will say the ATEM, I would say the ATEM, when you hook the Blackmagic cameras up to the ATEM, one issue that we've had when I've helped Alan Seawright with cinematherapy is you are locked into Blackmagic RAW, which doesn't make sense to me. If you're able to live switch something, it seems like you should have the choice to edit or to shoot in ProRes. I think Blackmagic just really, really, really wants to push their Blackmagic RAW codec because arguably the file sizes aren't bad for the resolution. You can even go up to like 12:1 if you really want to save space. So I think it's to really just push their format as a capture format, and I think it's I don't love it because I think there are event situations and different situations like us making a YouTube show where we don't need 6K Blackmagic RAW
Right. Right.
and we want to edit and then this is the other issue, which is the give and take. It'd be less of a problem if Final Cut supported Blackmagic RAW, but that's a whole other weird can of worms that
here's
I
what I'm
don't
doing.
understand.
This is an experiment for me, and I'm going to do a test, obviously, before I leave, because I have to get ready for this. And if you guys want to get involved and sort of see how it works, I'm going to be shooting on the Blackmagic camera and uploading to the Blackmagic cloud so that an editor can start working using the proxies to help organize the footage and get it ready for us to cut into the documentary. And I'll see how that works with the new Blackmagic camera app. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see. So that's what I'm trying. Maybe it's a risk because these are one-of-a-kind interviews. These guys are in their late 90s, early hundreds. And I'm going to be able to get them again.
You want to shoot with two separate cameras or whatever. I have the Lumix S5 Mark II X, and one of the things you can do, you can record the same thing to both cards, so you have a safety copy. Something like that. That's what I would do. I'd record to both cards.
Yeah, Richard, I didn't take your advice about the external SSD, and I got cheap, and I bought a Crucial SSD. And I went just to try it and transfer some footage. It took overnight just to move.
Which one? The 9?
Ridiculous.
The 9?
The Crucial. I think it's the new Crucial. I don't have it in the edit bay here.
Well, it's either the 9 or the 10 if it's new. I got the 9. No, it's 9. Wow, I'd be surprised. I've been testing. I was
moving a lot of stuff. I was moving, I don't know, it was probably, I think it was 80 gigs. Or
doesn't make any difference. It doesn't affect the speed.
Forever. And I was on the M1 iMac. And so I tried that and I let it run, but then I brought over one of the OWC Envoys, right? The little Envoy, and I hooked that up. And just as a test, I moved the same footage. It took something like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Philip, do you ever shoot with an iPhone?
I do. It's pretty much the only thing I shoot with.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I have a beautiful RX10 that I use to take my food photographs, and that's pretty much everything else I use for.
Is that which version of the iPhone do you have?
I'm still on a 14.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great camera. If it wasn't for the USB-C versus Lightning, I would have.
Oh yeah.
I would keep. I still have my 14. I'd keep it, but because the Lightning USB-C there's a dramatic difference. So I've been ordering and testing hard drives, and I have the Samsung T7, the Samsung T7 Shield. I have this one, which amazingly, this is a generic. This is a case with a NVMe flash drive inside that somebody tested. This is the fastest one, dramatically fast, twice as fast as any of the other ones. And I just sent back the T9 today. I had that. It's worse. It's worse than a T7 or this is for the phone now, not for the Mac. So on the Mac, it's fine. 800, 900 megabytes per second. When you get to the phone, it's below half of that.
Wow.
So it doesn't work with the phone. And I have the one you're talking about, Cirina, the Crucial 9 coming tomorrow to test that one to see if that one's any better.
Let me know what you find out, because it just crashed.
This is the best one. And there's a guy on YouTube who's doing all these. He does all these speed tests with the phone, but he does it with math. He goes, oh, this is how long it took, this is how many seconds, and he goes, it's all this math stuff and figures read and write. There's actually an app for $3 that does the same thing. That's what I got. I'll use the app.
I love that. Will you send us a link to that? Because I'm going to get that real quick.
Absolutely not. I'm keeping it to myself. I don't want anybody else.
No, I want it. I need you guys' advice too, because I have to make a decision. I can get almost $600 back on my iPhone 14 if I trade it in, but you know what it's like. I do 2 camera shoots with the iPhone. So can I do you think I can mix the 14 and the 15
Sure.
media and it'll look okay?
Yeah,
Should
but
I keep it? Should I go back? Because the one before that, I think, is like 13 or the 12.
no, all the phones, if you like the look of the iPhone footage, and I do, they're all going to be very similar. Now, if you go to Apple ProRes Log, that's different.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ball game. The color, and I've got, I don't know, half a dozen LUTs at this point. More than that. I maybe have 10 or 12 LUTs. And there's a couple that I really like. The Apple one, this is in Final Cut Pro because you need to go to 10.6.9 to get this. The Apple one is okay, but it's not my favorite. Panasonic makes one called Nice, and it's free. It's Panasonic something nice, and that's a really nice one. It's a little more contrasty, a little more saturated than the stock Apple one. But no, since I started shooting Apple ProRes Log on my iPhone 15 Pro Max, now I've gone back to my Lumix S5X Mark II X and started shooting log there too. Or is it log? Yeah, Vlog.
Vlog?
Yeah, Vlog.
Log, yeah.
I started shooting that now there because there's two options with the Panasonic. You can burn in a LUT when you're recording, or you can just monitor with a LUT and still have your log footage to work in Final Cut Pro, which is the way I work.
Yeah, I would never burn in a LUT. I just want that flexibility on the back end. You just don't know when you're going to reuse that footage or what your grader is going to want it to look like at the end. So I would never burn in a LUT. Some people do, though. I mean, if it's a one-off and they're shooting for YouTube and they just want to do it really quickly and get it out, that's great. Yeah, maybe what I'll do is turn the 14 in, get my money back for it, and buy a 15 on credit. I don't know. Oh, here I go again.
No, I know what you mean. I got to sell my 14, I mean. Apple offered $600 for it. It was like $1,500, $1,600.
Can you get more than that if you sell it?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Richard,
yes.
You're so good at this.
No, I'm not that good. It's just I know the market. I can get 800, at least 700 and something, 775, 790, something like that. Local. I won't ship it. I don't deal with eBay. I don't deal with their 10% tax. I don't deal with shipping it. And they say, I never got your phone. And then what do you do? No. Yeah. They come to my house and they pick it up here, test it here, and they bring cash. That's how I sold my 2019 Mac Pro.
There's another scam going around. See
exactly.
This Hasselblad right here. I ordered the dual charger and some extra batteries for this shoot and a remote cable, right?
Yep.
And they put the wrong address. I hear it's happening more often. They put the wrong address on it so that it becomes undeliverable, and then the package gets lost, and you can never find it.
I can't deal with that.
You have to. You really have to watch the tracking. Anyway, we went off subject. We're talking about.
Well, let's talk about the Creative Summit because that's what I want to talk about a lot. Anyway, so normally for the Creative Summit, we all stayed in one hotel, and all the sessions were at the hotel, and we got used to. I know where the restaurants were, and et cetera, et cetera. This time, we're 1 mile away. At least a lot of us are. I'm staying at the Aloft. Is everybody staying there? What about you, Brad?
Gabe Spalding and I decided that it would be cheaper to get an Airbnb and split it.
Okay.
Which it was.
There you go. So
it's
are we partying at your Airbnb? We're going to party at Brad's Airbnb.
Right. Exactly. Let's get him thrown out the first night after.
It's under Gabe's name, so
there you go.
Yeah, you're welcome to come by.
So we're 1 mile away. The Aloft, this is where FMC's staying, their staff's staying, this is where all the speakers are staying. This is the hotel they made a deal with to get a discount rate, I think 20 or 30 bucks off per night, something like that. So it's 1 mile away. So we have to go from the hotel to get to the place where the sessions are, which is 1 mile. I mean, I don't mind walking a mile in the morning. or I checked the Ubers. Ubers are about $8 or $9 one way, plus a tip. You're talking 10, $11. Now you have to team up with what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, team up with people. So you get 2 or 3 people, maybe 4 people in an Uber and split it.
Walk there
Yeah, I
and go
figure
back.
we go down to the lobby and just raise your hand and go, who's going to the event, right? And just pile into the Uber. Sorry, Philip, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just said we'd walk there and Uber back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm figuring. In the morning, I have more energy. I just get up. Coffee's still fresh. By the way, thanks for the thumbs up. We got a bunch of thumbs up. Thank you very much. I have more energy. And when I go back, that's when I'm saying, hey, who wants to go back now? We'll go back and team up on the Ubers. So that's one of the things that are different this time.
Yeah.
The second thing, which they still haven't put up on their website, is Monday, what's happening on Monday. So iJustine is delivering the keynote at 9 o'clock. So make sure you're there before 9 o'clock. After iJustine, there's a second presentation. Okay?
Really?
This is not, they have not put this on their website. I'm not sure why, but they've told me, so I know. After iJustine's a second presentation, then there's lunch. Then we're going to Apple Park after lunch.
Okay.
So I don't know what the second presentation is. I just know iJustine's the first keynote. So that'll be cool.
Whatever it is, I love the bus ride over there. That's one of
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite things the bus ride. It feels like we're back in high school again, right? And we should
No,
be
I like
singing
it too.
songs. Richard, why don't you write a camp song for the summit and then we'll all sing it on the bus?
Yeah, there you go. If I pass out the sheet music, everybody's going to know how that works.
sing it
I
on
don't
the
read or
bus.
write music. I just play music. I mean,
Well,
a little
software
bit. I know what chords are stuff.
The software that you play and transcribe it down into actual notation.
I couldn't read notation to save my life. There's a famous guitar player from Washington, D.C. We have a lot of guitar players, Telecaster players. His name was Danny Gatton. I knew Danny. My band opened up for him on numerous occasions. And one of his famous quotes, I think it was him. Was it him or somebody else? I forget who. Maybe it wasn't him. He said, when I play at a concert, people applaud because they like what they hear, not because I hit all the dots on a piece of paper. It's very true.
That's cool. Yeah,
It's very true.
And a lot of the dots on a piece of paper is not what an artist actually sings anyway. I've
Right.
noticed that over the years with my vocal coach. She'll say, well, that's not what they're singing. And I say, but this is what it's written. They say, well, that's not what they're singing. Say, we're not doing it that way.
Exactly.
Well, Bob Dylan on cue. I mean, on key. Bob Dylan was always a little bit off key. We didn't mind.
A little bit. I don't know, but a little bit. I mean, but that's part of his charm, isn't it? He played a harmonica off key. He sang off key. That's part of the charm.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Oh.
that's just the way it is.
He was a better songwriter than he was singer. Let's just go with
Yeah, I don't think he would say he's a great singer. It fit his music, though,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It really,
Yeah,
really
I
fit,
love
especially in the early days. You know, in the '60s and stuff, during the heyday of that renaissance of popular music that was happening. So let's get back to the summit real quick. So we got to walk down, or we have to take an Uber down 1 mile away. It's no big deal. Get to the place. Monday is already specced out. Tuesday and Wednesday have sessions all day. And sometimes people don't realize this. There's 2 sessions simultaneous. You got to choose Steve Martin or Mark Spencer because they're competing with each other. I think
Don't
Tuesday
make me do
morning.
that.
Yeah, they're competing with each other. That's just one example on Tuesday morning. So you got to choose Camp Mark or Camp Steve, right? You have to choose which. I mean, I'll go by subject matter as much as anything.
Yeah.
They're both
So
great.
do Steve and Mark
both
have a
great.
bet? Do Steve and Mark have a bet in place that whoever gets more attendees is Like the person, I guess, with less attendees has to buy lunch for the person who has more attendees.
There you go. That works.
I think they should arrange that.
Speaking of lunch, there also are fewer places to eat, and you got to go. Are you eating down where the sessions are, or you're going to eat where the main hotel is? Different. The fewer, the ones where the sessions are, the only ones I've seen that are close by are in the hotel.
Yeah.
They're hotel specific.
It's kind of like a newly developed industrial park with a few hotels because of the airport and near the convention center. It's not really a downtown area like we were used to, as much as that was a downtown area.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that's different. We have to, and I'll probably go down to where the place is and get breakfast down there if I eat breakfast. I'm not really a big breakfast eater typically, but I do bring my coffee set up in my hotel room. I bring a stainless steel. Yes, I do. I bring a stainless steel pour over kettle, and I bring an AeroPress, and I bring my own coffee. I grind my coffee ahead of time and stuff. So I have my coffee. That's not an issue. But I'm so used to going back and forth to the hotel room during the day. Can't do that this time. Got to stay. Make your plans, what you're going to do, and then you got to, one trip in the morning, one trip in the evening is what I'm figuring on. Yeah. I'm not going to go back to the hotel.
Well, and then walking there with your laptop and anything else you need during the day.
I have that in the backpack. That's no big deal. I'm used to that I walk 2 miles every morning, 7 days a week. So that part's not a problem. The backpack is not that heavy. So I carry just about, the essentials in there. I don't have, giant tripods and stuff I carry with me. So it'll be fun. So do we expect anything from the Creative Summit? People are asking me, what's going to happen at the Creative Summit? What's going to happen at the Creative Summit? Obviously, we don't know. We've had 2016, 2017, 2018. 2016, Final Cut Pro 10.3 was announced less than 24 hours before the summit. When the Touch Bar MacBook Pro came out, it was announced. It was just casually announced. She goes, "Oh, by the way, that's the new version of Final Cut Pro," when she was demoing the What? And it was 10.3. So that was less than 24 hours before. In 2017, we got 10.4 at the Creative Summit. It was debuted at the Creative Summit. In 2018, we got a preview of 10.4.4, once again, worldwide debut at the Creative Summit. It came out in December of that year. But the Summit got the worldwide debut. All 3 of those years. 2019, of course, was a bust. There was nothing. And as a matter of fact, Brad said, why couldn't they show us the MacBook Pro? Because they showed it a couple days later in New York or something. Yeah. But they didn't.
Well, we've just had an upgrade, and they tend not to do updates within 3 months of each other because it was mostly for the iPhone ProRes RAW support. But so I don't know. Just based on that, I'd say we're probably not going to get a brand new update. But then, 7 years ago at NAB, they did show an NDA preview of something that wasn't shipped for like 6 or 8 months. So, maybe they'll give us a roadmap under NDA. That would be fun. Right.
They could, but typically, because people ask me that, they said, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. I said, yeah, we're taking off work. We're paying. This is specifically for the summit. But so far, they've never said we couldn't talk about the updates. As a matter of fact, they encouraged us. Go on social media, post about 10.4, post about 10.4.4. So when there's a Final Cut Pro update, so far they've encouraged us to post about it because that's like the debut. I got a feeling something's going to be there. I don't think it's just going to be, hey, look at 10.6.10, this great update we just gave you to fix the FX factory bug. That's 10.6.9?
Yeah.
10.6.9, oh, that's introduced the factory bug. 10.6.8, 10.6, at what point would they be showing us something? Oh, well, my expectations are tempered from 2019. So But my hopes are they exceed my expectations. That's what I hope. And I was telling Brad off the air, I pay attention to statistics. The average time between full number updates is 19 months, with the exception of 10.4 to 10.5, which was 3 years. That is the only exception. But typically, full number updates are 19 months. It's been 2 years since 10.6. 2 years since 10.6. So I understand they've given us a bunch of bug fix updates since August. I don't think that precludes the possibility of 10.7. I don't think that precludes it. But I wouldn't place a bet on that. Not after 2019.
What do you think they would include in the new full number update that we don't have now? What are the odds?
Philip, plug your ears.
Oh, yeah.
Text-based editing and auto captions. I think that's one of the things that
it's got to be something they're working on.
Yeah.
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 Well,
they're
Philip,
finally catching up to where we were in 2018. So it's time for us to do the planning for where they'll be in 2028.
Right. Of course. So Eric Emmerich says, "I want my Final Cut Pro 11 MTV." Of course, that's the famous quote.
Big question is, what do we want, or what do we think they're going to do? I think text-based editing makes a lot of sense because Resolve and Premiere have incorporated that, and I'm happy to see, Philip, that you guys were already anticipating something now that you have. I'm now forgetting your AI tool's name. Just blinked it.
Picture this.
Picture this. Well, I have to say, and I'm prejudiced, I don't think, and I'm adamant about this, I don't think there's another solution on the marketplace that works better than Builder. I use Builder still every day. So robust. It does everything I need. It's easy to use. It's just so fast. And the built-in solutions, I don't see how they're going to possibly build in all of the what do you call it, features that you and Greg put into Builder. How are they going to do that? I really don't think they can.
They probably won't, because looking at what Adobe have done with Premiere Pro, maybe I'm a little biased, but I don't think that what they've done is robust as Builder. But I also think that they've done a fairly good job, and there's nothing about it that I can say, well, it's so bad that you still have to use Builder. I think it's actually a very good implementation of text-based editing, and knowing how Apple go into these things and they do design before they build anything, I'm sure that their implementation will be a very good one. And yes, pioneers end up on the ground with the arrows in their back. It doesn't always work out, but it doesn't.
Well, Builder for me, I use Builder for
been
social
5 years of
media
leading
clips.
the pack. And finally, Adobe have caught up, and Blackmagic are on the way of catching up. I don't think they're anywhere near as advanced in their solution yet, but they move very quickly. And that is why, we're looking at what the next things are. And as we've hinted at, there's Picture This, and there's at least another 3 or 4 apps in our development cycle that will bring more and more apps to Final Cut, are unlikely to come natively to Final Cut for a couple more years.
Right. Now, Brad, you had a very good point. So you said, what did you just say before we started this, about the difference between what you wish and what you think?
What we want, or what they're actually going to do. I only brought that up because I look at, this may not be something users are asking for, but I look at what Apple's doing in other areas, not just Final Cut Pro. And one of the updates that we haven't talked about that's supposed to come for iPhone 15 is the ability to use 2 cameras and record stereo video, which then can be played back through Vision Pro. Now, Vision Pro's not going to be the most accessible tool, but where my mind wanders is, if Final Cut Pro is going to tie into the larger Apple ecosystem, how will Final Cut Pro be able to, or will be able to, handle stereo recordings coming from the iPhone, so that you could edit them for Vision Pro? And will there be some sort of workflow there? And what other workflows would that benefit? Because, we've got, I think it was like 2010 when 3D came back in a big way in a digital form, after James Cameron's Avatar movie. And then we kind of saw that die down, and then we saw VR come up, and that sort of died down as far as the hype. And now these things are sort of merging, and Apple's getting into that space. So will we see stereo tools in Final Cut Pro? I don't think it would be next month, but if the iPhone's going to get it next year, then when will Final Cut Pro be able to support that recording or not? I mean, support cinematic mode.
The day that Apple decide that Final Cut will support it for them. I mean, a lot of development cycles for Final Cut have gone into supporting Apple's greater goals, like remaking stuff into Metal. Yes, we get then Metal 2. Yes, we get better performance, but that's still a finite amount of engineering resources that go. What is already.
Well, I think if I were at Apple, I would be a little, I mean, obviously they're making a lot of money, but I would be a little concerned about the market share that is going to Dell and to the gamers that are using Unreal Engine. And so there's a piece of the marketplace there. So I'm wondering what they're doing in the back halls of Apple to try to somehow solve that. That would be a thing to look
They've
at.
partnered with Unity, I think is the short answer to that. Unity is kind of Apple's answer to Unreal. As far as gaming, Apple keeps, teasing like, oh, we're here for game development and gamers, and that's there, but I don't know. It's never felt like it's been strong in the Apple ecosystem, and I don't know I don't know what they could do to do that. If you're a gamer, I probably wouldn't recommend getting a Mac, but if you're a video editor, 100% yes.
Same with me. I mean, I'm not a gamer at all, but from everything that I've seen, if you're a gamer, get a PC, get a spec'd out PC. I don't know why. It's just not that important to Apple or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. That's a huge segment. There's a lot of money in gaming.
Apple's doing okay, Cirina. Apple's doing okay.
Apple's doing okay.
There's a lot of people buying Dells. If I were at Apple, I wouldn't want people buying Dells.
But what did Michael Dell? What did Michael Dell say to Steve Jobs? Remember that famous quote?
What?
If I were the head of Apple, I'd sell the company and give their stockholders their money back. That's his famous quote.
Well, he was wrong about that.
Well, big time. Well, anybody that don't underestimate Steve Jobs. I mean, obviously it's too late now, but he's one person I would never bet against.
The ghost of Steve Jobs coming back for Halloween.
I'd
also say that the gamer culture is a little bit at odds with the Apple philosophy, and that Apple wants a user-friendly, all-in-one solution. And even when Apple, in 2019 said, here's a new Mac Pro, and then, of course, they've got their new Apple Silicon Mac Pro, those are such expensive machines, they're not really targeted towards hobbyists. Maybe secondhand, a hobbyist could get a hold of it. But I think gamers love, speccing out. Just like we talked about gear, when we get obsessed with camera gear, I think they love speccing out different video cards, being able to upgrade their RAM and do all those sorts of things. And I just don't think that Apple at that level is friendly to that community. At a higher end, if you have lots of money to spend and you can afford Mac Pros, they've sort of recommitted to that. But I see that as a different niche than gamers. So maybe a very super wealthy gamer can do the Mac Pro thing.
Yeah.
Is anybody buying a Mac Pro?
What do you mean?
Huh?
I have one.
The new ones.
You mean the new one? No,
ones.
I'm not going to buy another one. But
I'm not
Tyler
going
in
to
the chat
either.
was just saying that people who game don't buy Dell. So maybe I'm wrong about all that.
Philip, what were you going to say?
They probably build their own.
I was just going to address the question we got to, do we expect to see AI editing in Final Cut Pro? And I'm going to go so right on a limb and say pretty solidly no, not in this release. If we see AI features, they're much more likely to be around text-based editing and auto transcription and auto captioning than they are to be automatically assemble and edit. It's an area that I've been looking at for 10 years, thinking it would take about 5. And so, no, since for 10 years, I think it'll take 5, and we're not there yet. There are tools that will purport to assemble, and they will switch angles, and they will do. There are tools that will simply cut out dead air and the dead words, but they're not editing as I would see that as even the sort of content creators are still doing much more creative editing than simply what we can formularize. And if you're talking about creating a first cut interviews without a human intervention, I think we're still quite a long way away from that, although that's the goal I've been chasing. In fact, I decided 10 years down the track that I was taking the entire wrong approach, expecting to use AI to generate keywords, whereas I think the approach that we should be using is I get AI to generate the stories and then match them back. But there's my experiments so far have been great. I got scripts back that were so good, they were so spot on, they could have been perfect quotes. In fact, they were entirely fictitious. They had been made up by ChatGPT to give me the most likely answers to everything. None of the quotes in my edit were actually in any of the original transcripts. So we have a long way to go on that front just yet.
But we have this. We have this.
Ooh, well, this is good.
I'd also before we definitely need to dive into Philip's new and Greg's new tool. But I was going to make one point when you talk about Apple and AI. Michael Cioni released a video this week under his Strata YouTube channel, and he made a quick point of saying, if you notice, Apple doesn't really use the term AI; they'll use machine learning, or even when we're talking about Vision Pro, they don't call it VR; they call it spatial computing. They're always trying to kind of have their own different branding and things on it. And I actually think, in a way, Apple's right not to refer to some of these tools as AI, because I don't think it's true intelligence. I think it's machine learning algorithms.
I've just got sick of saying by AI we really mean machine learning all the time. It's like I just gave up, and so like vertical video if you need to use it on a phone, and AI if you want to communicate to people who don't really care about the details. But
absolutely,
you are completely right.
I've even started calling these YouTube videos podcasts. Even though they're not podcasts, I just gave up. I said, "This is my podcast. Hey, this is my podcast. I'm on YouTube with no RSS feed. It's video, not audio. This is my podcast." No, it's not really, and I know that, but I've even started calling them podcasts. So whatever. I remember a long time ago, Philip, you were the one that told me about the meaning of decimate. And ever since then, when somebody uses decimate, I automatically say, "You mean reduced by 10%? No, decimate means reduced by 10%. But of course, the common usage now means it's devastates, whatever.
And I believe that it's become
I say
an acceptable
decimate
usage
times
as
10,
well.
and then it's
decimate
times 10.
That works for sure. Let's go back. Let's go back and look at Philip's
should I
app here.
Should I be scared of this, Philip?
No, this is just. I don't think you should ever be scared about AI, machine learning, because my friend Chuck Fazio, who is a fabulous photographer and would be remembered in the early Media 100 community, he said, AI will not put you out of a job. Your competitor using AI will put you out of a job. And that's, I think, where the truth is. That's not it. And everything that I came across when I was researching my deep dive in 2021, humans and AI together that are powerful. It's not just the AI by itself. And the example there is chess. When for the longest time, a chess computer could not beat a human until the day it did. And then from that point on, every computer versus chess master match that was ever set up, the computer obviously won it. Until people paired the computer and the human. And then the computer plus human will beat computer overall. So yes, if somebody's using pure AI, the creative person using the same AI will get the better results. And there is a lot of creativity and a lot of probably writing prompts is more poetry than it is technical. And it's, the prompt is what creates the image, because this is an AI image generating program into Final Cut Pro. So you write your image prompts right in the timeline. Because I don't think anybody in the audience would know that yet.
Philip, I sent you and Richard the little 10-second social media clip where we put the cartoon in there using Picture This. I don't know if you want it or not, but it's an example of something that was finished really quickly using Picture This for social media.
Philip, tell us about Picture This. Tell us exactly what's going on there.
Well, people are probably aware by this time that there are a variety of text-to-image technologies. They're different models created by different people. There is, Midjourney is a privately held company. Stability AI creates open source models so that anybody can use those models. They created the excellent Whisper speech-to-text model that we incorporate in Builder. And we looked at Stable Diffusion, and because it is available, beginning of summer, we started to look and see, well, we can take prompts from within Final Cut. We can bring them into our interface where we then feed them one at a time to the Stable Diffusion engine and bring them back into Final Cut as auditions. And that sort of work took Greg a couple of weeks to get together. And we looked at what was available in the Stable Diffusion models at that time. And we said, yeah, that's not really up to our standard about the image quality that's generated. It's cute, it's fun and would have some application. But the thing is, when you release a new app, you really only get one chance to capture people's imaginations and capture people's mind. They'll look at it once, at least, well, maybe they'll look at it once. And if they look and see what the generated images are and they're not happy with those, then they won't come back to it. And even though you improve it in the future. So fortunately, in August, Stability AI released a new model, the XL model for Stable Diffusion, and the results were dramatically better. They took longer because the bigger these models get, the longer it takes to use them to process all of the information that they have to generate an image. So that is why that it actually is a Sonoma only and an Apple Silicon only app, because they were the requirements of the pipeline. It's also very new, but it was up to the standards that we wanted to reach. And so without the app, what you would do is you'd have to jot down a note. You'd say, oh, somewhere in this timeline I want an image. Better write down the time and a note about what I want that image to be. You would go online, you would pay some money to have some credits. You would generate the images 1 or 4 at a time, depending on what you're looking at. Have to download those images separately somewhere. You would have to bring them into Final Cut, and then you have to create some auditions and bring those auditions into the timeline at the point where you had your image. Picture This does all that for you. So instead of that flow, what you do is you work through your timeline and say, oh, I want an image here. You put a marker there, make sure it's a to-do marker.
Right.
And, add another one. I have 26 in a practice piece that I did. You then, once you're happy with the stage that you're at and you want to generate new images, simply drag your project from the Final Cut interface to the Picture This interface. We would have loved to make it a workflow extension, but the Mac OS imposes a 1 gigabyte RAM limit on extension. That's not a Final Cut limit, that's the Mac OS limit. And so we have the option, you can just float it over Final Cut. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a very workable solution, and it's what we can do. And so you simply drag the project into Picture This. You'll get a full listing of all of the to-do markers that you have put prompts into, with the option at that point to uncheck so that you won't use as a prompt any to-do markers that aren't image prompts. So you can just check that. And you also have at that point the chance to correct any obvious typographical errors in the prompts, or to change your prompt before you send it. You would decide at that point how many variations you want to create. Usually the default is 3, but you can set it as low as 1, as 10. More images are going to take longer to generate. Fewer images are going to take less time to generate. And then you will also check the quality slider between faster and better. Faster is great for general purpose images, scenery, food, all of that type of thing. Where you would want to ramp up the quality and take longer for each image is if you were trying to generate images that included people. I was doing some experiments yesterday using an improvement to the model that we're going to roll into a future update. And at about 3/4 of the way across, faces started to look much more natural, much more, and so that quality slider is there for when you want to do basically between scenery and faces. And then faces just take longer, and getting the right number of fingers
Right.
takes a bit longer.
But also, it's on sale right now, right? Introductory
It's
pricing?
on sale. It's normally priced at $29.99 until the end of October. It is on the sale for $24.99.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And it is a perfect use for auditions. I think auditions are one of the underrated features in Final Cut Pro 10, Final Cut Pro. And this is a perfect use because you get back each prompt is generated into an audition with however many images you want, you ask for in
Right.
that audition.
Speaking of auditions, I want to see transition auditions that I can put multiple transitions and try different ones without deleting, putting a new one in, deleting, putting a new one in. No, let me stack up 3 or 4 transitions and let me try them with an audition.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Been on my list for a while.
The only workaround for that, Richard, that I've had to do in the past is you have to compound clip it and make a new duplicate compound clip, and then you can audition the compound clips, which is not a great way to just try out 3 or 4 different transitions. Philip, I have some questions about pictures. Then maybe this is kind of roadmap stuff, but to start with, obviously the use case for this is lots of social media videos, any type of documentaries. When I did Off the Tracks, I cut what we call the radio edit and then put markers, to-do markers of hey, I need a B-roll shot of this, I need a B-roll shot of that. I could also see using this as kind of a previs tool, at least for documentaries, in that I want to show a cut. I'm going to use an image. I may even just use the fast, quick, and dirty image just as a placeholder, and then I'm going to go out and actually shoot that footage to later replace. But at least in the meantime, I've got something there. Maybe some of those images will stay in the final. Maybe some of them get the real shot in there. Is this a model in the future that could be enhanced so that if I had 5 or 6 characters in a narrative feature, it could call back and generate the same character in different shots? Or is it, as of right now, I imagine every time you say, a specific description of a person, it may just generate something random every time.
In the current release version of Picture This, it will generate something random. We have a roadmap for the app that actually adds new features as in-app purchases for those that feature. So, for example, for those few people that want extra control, they'll be able to unlock more control in the app for say $9.99. And we certainly have planning to go image to image prompting, and for that purpose, to make sure we can go back and edit the same image, the seed that there's a random seed generated every time you generate an image. It just the randomness starts that generates that image. And every time there's a new seed, it will generate a somewhat different image. We save the seed into the metadata in the image so that in the future version of Picture This, you'll be able to say, I want to edit this image, and we'll take it back and we'll insert the seed again, so that the variations you generate will be variations on that originally generated image. And so,
that's very clever. Saving the seed. That's really a great idea.
Yeah, because I was playing with it yesterday, and knowing that the seed is there. I could go back and I could try the same prompt at different quality levels, and whether it makes enough difference to add on the small amount of time that it does, and I think it does. So, Refiner is yet another model that goes with Stable Diffusion that improves the handling of faces and fine detail. So, of course, you we'll be doing a zoom out feature, so you can fill in the sides with generating image, or
Right.
all around a zoomed out stage, so to speak.
Yeah, no, the
So,
reason why I asked that is, sorry, selfishly, I'm thinking about this narrative feature that I'm developing right now, and it's like we're doing character designs, we want to do storyboards and animatics, and it's a very hands-on, tedious process. Part of me likes sometimes just sitting there and sketching because it takes time and it makes me think about the story more. But then another part of me is once I've got those designs in place, wouldn't it be great to, be able to feed existing images maybe that I've created into a model, and then be able to generate different types of shots and figure out a
Yeah, I think
storyboard that way.
with the image prompt option, I think you'll be able to do that, because it won't have to be an image that we generate. Of course, when you start from an image, you will have some control about how much like the original image that you want it to be, or how much, how random you want it to be. So there is that sameness capability. So I'd want to generate variations on this according to your prompt that are quite similar to the original, or dramatically different from the original, or somewhere in between. So yes, that sort of control will be there. But I
so
think, the people who want that level of control are probably going to be a lot fewer than those people who want to do a couple of quick images to go into a social media post like Cirina did with her crazy producer image the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't draw a cartoon. I would love to be able to draw cartoons, and that was fun. I'm also thinking selfishly that I'd like to try it for stock images, of, for example, landing on the beach and on Easy Red and World War II on Omaha Beach, right? You see the same pictures all the time, all the time, all the time. Maybe we could create something. I'm going to try it. That would be a little bit different, but says the same thing and also saves you money.
Yeah. Well, again, if you used an existing image as a prompt, it would do variation. So you would definitely could get something that was very similar, but a completely
Mm-hmm.
new image to doing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the features that Adobe previewed at Adobe Max, it's not planned, not announced for any shipping product, but it's image to animation, whereas you can take an image and do a short, 8 or 10 second animation based on that image, just rotating or moving backwards. It's something simple that's appropriate for the actual image. But we can't do that at the moment because there is no open source model that allows us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And training a model is somewhere between a model of that size is an investment of somewhere between $20 and $50 million. And I know this will
wow.
surprise you. We don't have those resources, so we can add a lot of
Means you
value
don't
to existing open source models, but generating
you
our
don't
own
have that
model.
in your bank account, Philip? Come on, you've got
No,
all
I
those
do not.
apps from intelligent assistants.
Yeah, well, but they will come. There will be a text to animation model probably from Stability or from AI or from Google or from Meta. Both Google and Meta are creating some great open source models. Meta has a fabulous translation, 100 languages to 100 languages, text to text, text to speech, or speech to speech. So it will translate speech into another language and voice it for you. Not in your own voice. There are other technologies that will do that at the moment as a web service. So we're coming into a very exciting era for these sort of tools to enhance documentaries and social media posts, where you want something visual, but because we don't want to see talking heads anymore. So you need something visual, and this is a great way to just create something fairly quickly, faster than an image search, and very custom to do exactly what you want it to say, not something that is more generic. And we see the same lab technicians in different companies' promotional materials.
Right.
And it's great for
So
backgrounds for titles.
if
I
anybody's,
actually
yeah, absolutely. If anybody's coming to the Creative Summit, you can come up to Philip, Cirina, Brad, not me. I don't want anybody talking to me. And just say hi. Just introduce yourself. Of course, I'll be welcoming anybody. Well, anybody that doesn't know, I remember in 2019, there's a few people that contacted me and say, hey, I don't really know anybody, blah, blah, blah. I said, just hang out with me. Just hang out with me. You're completely friendly. Everybody's friendly there. It's just a great, celebration of Final Cut Pro. This is the biggest Final Cut Pro event every year when they have it.
Yeah.
It's not any ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is the biggest one. And the reason is, interestingly, if you can see over there, not only is Apple, but it's also NAB show is also support or associated with NAB. So this is different than NAB. I went to NAB last year. It was like there was nothing to do with Final Cut Pro anywhere. There was no parties. There's no, Steve Martin didn't have a party. There wasn't even any super meet. So there was no place for Final Cut Pro people to gather. Nobody was using, they may have been using it sparingly, but, So this is the place to go for the Creative Summit. Now, if anybody wants a pass for this, I have 2 of them to give away. There's a couple of things. Number one is you have to be going. I'm not going to give you a pass if you're just going to take the pass. You're going to have to get a hotel room. You're going to got to get transportation worked out, and then I can give away 2 free passes. Don't take the pass if you're not going to use it. That's not the way it works. And you also can't sell it, and you can't give it away. You can't win it and say, I'll give it to my wife. No. Whoever's on the show and wins it, that's who gets it. Now, if you already bought one, you can give yours to your wife or your girlfriend or your whatever boyfriend. You can do that, but not this one. This one, whoever wins it, that's who gets it. So if anybody wants it, just post in the comments and you'll be able to contact me. I already have some person who's already, I think, kind of won because he's been bugging me for like a week. So I figure, okay, we'll let you have it. I got to look up his name, though. I'm not sure what his name is. Scott says, I would go, but I'll be in Australia. Well, we got 3 Aussies coming. We got Ian Anderson coming. We got Lee Herbert coming. And we got Chris Hawking coming. They're all going to be here this time.
You're going the wrong way, Scott.
Yes, Scott from Australia or just going to go to Australia?
I don't know. Scott, are you from Australia? For some reason, I think he is from Australia. I think he is. I'm not positive, but I think.
Maybe see if Ian can get a big enough suitcase to smuggle you in.
Yeah. He said, I'll wave at them as our planes pass. So I guess he's headed to Australia for some reason.
Yeah.
Nice.
So here we have one comment. I'm driving up from LA and would love to use a pass. So you're driving up, you're not getting well, you still got, are you driving up each day? Do you have to see 3?
No, they'd be driving
from LA? It's too far?
Yeah, staying in a hotel.
Well, it's like an 8-hour drive.
Okay,
like
so I don't know. California to me is just, I don't know LA from anything. I don't know. I'm always surprised how far.
It's a large state. It's if you look at the East Coast, it's most of that same size. So
no, I realize that. I just don't know where LA is versus Oakland versus San Francisco. I don't know the relationships to everything.
About a 5-hour drive if you drive reasonably towards the speed limits.
Okay, so we have
Mike Yanovich. She'll be there.
Yeah, I'm in
4 hours.
San Diego, so I have a couple hours more than you do.
So we have Bruce Babcock Jr. says, I'm local and can make use of a pass. Okay, Bruce, if you're local, that means you don't have to give transportation and you don't have to get a hotel room. So you've got yourself a pass. Since you got yourself a pass.
Babcock, come down.
Because I don't have to verify hotel, I don't have to verify transportation. If you're local, you want a pass. And the other one person said, I'm driving up from LA and would love to use a pass. So, but are you getting a hotel or Airbnb or something? Send me the information there. And you'll get, just contact me offline and we'll see what the deal is.
Well,
but
this
if Bruce is local,
$300, right?
Send your
Pass
post.
is like $300.
Send your post to Richard. P.O. Box.
Jaden Amber, I would say. My driving is somewhere between the conservative and Steve Jobs versions. I do it in about 4.5.
Yeah. So we're going to Apple Park this time, right?
That's what they say.
We've been promised that in 2018 and 2019, but it fell through the last couple minutes. Are we going to go to the Steve Jobs Theater for the presentation, do you think?
I hope
Wouldn't that be cool?
We're not a big enough group to fill that hall.
Well, but we typically we have 150, Brad. We might have that or 200. That's not enough, you don't think, to get...
How many? The Steve Jobs Theater is pretty large, isn't it?
No, I realize it is, but I mean, where else would they do it?
They've got other rooms. I don't know.
I'm just thinking,
I don't know.
well, we can go to Tim Cook's office. I'm sure that's can hold 150 or 200 people.
Bruce Babcock done a solution.
And he's usually not there.
No, Bruce, okay, Developer Center. See, I've never been there. If some of you have been there, Developer Center's not big enough?
That's a great call. Developer Center is right across the street from Apple Park, and that actually would be a really good building to be at.
So wait a minute.
You remember we went to the Visitor Center?
Yes.
Remember the visit? So just south of the Visitor Center, I think since the last time we were there, they built the Developer Center.
That was
So it's just
under
south
construction, I think, when we were at the Apple Park, Apple Park Apple Store.
Okay.
So that would be a great place for it.
That's like a company move and moving all those people from the spaceship over to another venue. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they just said
I wouldn't
Apple
wanna do
Park,
that.
so... Or we could be outside.
I don't want to be outside. Please, I don't want to be outside. I want to be inside. I don't want to be outside the Apple Park. Somebody made a joke.
No.
I don't know if it was on the...
You'd be in the park.
Under the apricot trees.
Cafe and there's
in the parking lot.
Maybe
we'd
could
be
go
in the park
of the rainbow.
No,
Right.
about 80% of the park, about 80% of the campus is actually park. So there is
That's true.
Park at Apple Park.
I want to go inside. I want to go inside. Don't trick us and say you're at the park. You're right here in the grass.
Go through the building, and then we could do it by the Steve Jobs pond, the little pond. They could have us all go around there. That would be fun.
How many people do you think Steve Jobs Theater holds?
1,000 or more.
Oh, is it that big?
no,
Okay. Okay.
It's pretty big.
Is it that
Yeah,
big?
we
It
would
doesn't feel that big. It's comfy.
But they haven't used it for
Have you-
any live events. Recently, because of COVID and stuff.
No, I think they.
a few years ago. Wasn't that the theater we were in a few years ago? Is that a
No,
different
that's
theater?
that's the old one at Cooper. That's an Infinite Loop.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, we've never been to Apple Park.
Yeah, not for Creative Summit. It's the
The
Steve Jobs Theater. Like when iJustine gets invited to events, that's where she would watch the keynote, and then they usually outside of the theater they have like hands-on areas and things like that. So yeah.
Well, that's probably if they do the same thing they've done in the past, we get a presentation from the Final Cut Pro team on the latest, greatest, whatever it is, hardware, software, Final Cut Pro, and afterwards we get a hands-on. You go to a demo room.
Right.
In one Infinite Loop, they divided us in half because the place wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
So half of us would get the demo room, half of us would go get something to eat on Apple. It was Apple paid for the food. That was great. Either way, I mean, you can't lose either way. You get the demo or you get the food. And then they switch after about 45 minutes or so. So the question I have for Monday, since there's going to be a lunch, is that Future Media Springer for that lunch? Because they've done that in the past. They took us out to the
Monday they should let us eat at Cafe Max. They should give us about lunch vouchers for Cafe Max.
Well, that's true. Bus us there and give us that's a good point. Because I'm definitely going to get some.
And then you can take your meal out, and you can eat inside, or you can go out to one of the little patio areas. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be perfect. You just go ahead and email Ben, Brad. Tell him that's. And make sure you tell him that wasn't my idea. It was your idea.
I think I'll just send an email to Tim Cook.
That's true. That's
We
very
need
true.
we need
Tim,
to think
print
about
me
what
out
we're all
some
going to do
vouchers.
at
I'll be
night.
picking
What
them
are we
up.
going to do? What? I'm sorry. We're talking
Saying
over each other.
I'll
I
email.
apologize.
Sorry, I'll email Tim Cook and tell him to print us out some vouchers. I'll be by his office that morning, November 6th, to pick them up. We need about 150, 200 lunch vouchers for Cafe Max.
There you go.
Well, regardless of what they have to show us at this Creative Summit, I'm just really appreciative, first off, for Future Media Concepts and Ben, because if it wasn't for them, this would not be happening. Nobody else is going to organize this event. So absolutely, the Future Media Concepts and Ben, we appreciate it. All of us who love Final Cut Pro really appreciate it. So I am a media partner with Future Media Concepts. I work with them to help promote their events, but this is my favorite event of the year. I get to see all of you in person.
It's fun. Family reunion, like Philip says. But
Yeah,
what are we
I'm
going
not
to
sure
do? You know, we're not going to have like the Indian restaurant and the Italian restaurant and
Right.
the little deli. Where are we going to go at night for dinner?
I am going to put together as much information as I can glean from Google and maps and stuff, put together a list of different, it's not going to be that big because it's not that many. But I noticed there's a place about halfway down from the Aloft down to the place where the presentations are. On the right-hand side, there's like two or three, Taco Bell, which is the only fast food that I saw. I didn't see any other fast food anywhere. There's a Taco Bell. There's a Shell gas station that has some kind of convenience store there. And I
Beef
think there's a
jerky.
sandwich shop about halfway down. So that's one of the places. The other places, once we get down to that place, is just everything's inside the hotel. So it's all hotel stuff. There's a breakfast place, there's a dinner place, and I think there's a bar. Oh, there's a sushi place.
I am driving, and I will try to get a group of people. There's a really cool place in Sunnyvale called Murphy Street that you can eat pretty much anything. Or Murphy Avenue.
Okay. I'm reserving
It's
a
a little
spot.
ways away. It would have to be a drive, but
I'm going to reserve a
try to
spot
get
for
group
you.
of people, maybe Uber there, and it literally I think there's like 24 restaurants just on that street. There's a place called
good.
Tandoori Pizza that is like Indian fusion pizza it's really good.
And how
Tandoori
far
pizza.
away are these places, Brad, from the main hotel?
Oh man,
1 mile, 2 miles?
Tandoori Pizza versus I'm trying to figure out how to get directions and maps. What's the hotel at? The name of the hotel
A loft?
that we're
No,
staying,
no,
that you're staying
no.
at?
The other one is, I'll tell you. Hold on a second here.
Oh, is it
I
the
got-
Marriott? What is it? I can't remember. Too bad we don't have a whole bunch of food trucks. That
Hyatt
would be fun.
Regency. Hyatt Regency,
Oh, it's
Santa
a
Clara.
Hyatt. Okay.
That's where the presentations are.
We're just planning this in real time.
We should put a word out to the food trucks
So
in that area.
Well, that's
yeah,
true,
it's
too.
like 6 miles. It wouldn't be something we would go and do for lunch, but in the evening we could go down there.
Yeah.
It's like a 15-minute drive from where the event is taking place.
Yeah.
Probably a
We'll have
little
a car
closer
as well.
to the hotel people are staying at. But I definitely plan on at least going there once. If people
Okay.
really want to go on a trip, what you got to do is go to Redwood City, and then there's that German bar where the iPhone was stolen by and eventually ended up in the hands of Gizmodo.
Yeah, I remember
that place
that.
they serve schnitzel there, so that's a good place.
What's schnitzel?
But,
German something or other.
German,
Schnitzel,
yeah,
das ist
bratwurst
sehr
and
gut.
schnitzel and-
Oh, okay. Okay, bratwurst. I know that.
but that's another place I do want to hit up. Maybe that's a Wednesday night. I don't know which nights, or Sunday night if people are there Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be there
It's a
Sunday.
breaded cutlet. It's a
But yeah,
breaded
unfortunately,
cutlet.
like right by that hotel, like Philip said, it's industrial park. There's not a whole lot,
Mm.
which is kind of a bummer. We were
Telling
spoiled
you,
with
food trucks.
with that barbecue
truck.
place.
Oh, we're getting
Food trucks
some-
is a great idea. They should get an In-N-Out food truck
I like
at
that.
the hotel.
If I were
Yeah.
a food truck, I would want to be near this event.
Do it,
wouldn't I?
and especially for lunch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially for lunch and even dinner. I mean, So,
the hotel, there's going to be a long line to get into the restaurant. It's going to take forever to get your food.
well, you got to
Yeah,
plan
And it's gonna be
accordingly.
more expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely dramatically more expensive. That's why I mentioned the Taco Bell because I know, but there's no other fast food. I didn't see any other fast food restaurants anywhere. There is a place up by the Aloft. It's 0.3 miles, so it's like a 6-minute walk. It's called I forget what it's called, but that's a place that has meals too. They're hamburgers and stuff.
I'm bummed that they didn't do the Juniper again, because like not very far from the Juniper is Stevens Creek Boulevard, and there's so many good eating places there.
Yeah.
Well,
we used to
there was a
love
lot of
to go-
places. The Juniper. They said the Juniper couldn't accommodate them. That's what they told me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know
There's
if it
a
was the
reason.
numbers or whatever, or they were already booked or.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
guys are really smart. I'm sure there's a reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If they treat this, maybe they could treat this like a production and have a caterer. have
I think
craft
that
services.
I'm hoping that's Monday. There's the lunch is on somebody, Apple or them or whatever. That would be fine with me because it is included. We're not going to eat on the bus, that's for sure. Buses. Usually it's
little Apple lunch boxes, and put sandwiches in them and put them on the bus. We'll go on our little trip on the bus with our lunch boxes.
The good news is that there's places not far from Apple Park. At least south of Apple Park, there's a lot of eating places.
I think
but
we're
you're-
hungry. Are we hungry? We're all talking.
But
about food.
you're not going to
Yeah.
get out of Apple Park. They're not going to let you out of Apple Park and back in
No.
again.
No.
You mean before we go to Apple Park?
Well, maybe you won't, but I'm emailing Tim Cook, so
Well, that's true.
Well-
I forgot. But I mean, everybody else was. As a matter of fact, look what I have. If you can see this,
Oh, was that the pin?
the little
This is-
I
pin.
can't see it.
you have
Okay.
one too. Look at that. Yours is going to be in focus. Mine's a manual focus. So yeah, this is one of the things that they had for us last time with the magnet.
Yeah.
Stick it on your lapel. I don't know if
have
it's
one
going to stay
in
there.
the back. Yeah, that's so cute.
There you go. I guess that's what we. This is for
You're muted. You're
Creative
muted,
Summit alumni.
Philip. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. We had different colors for different groups. That's how they broke us into groups.
Yep, that's exactly right. And the last time was the first time that Michael Yanovich was at Creative Summit. And he sat next to me and cursed us because we didn't get any updates. So this time I'm saying, Michael's coming again. He's going to be there. I said, I don't know if I'll go sit next to you or not because of the last time. We joke about that all the time, back and forth.
I'm still disappointed because remember when they took that big camp photo of all of us? And
Yeah.
Philip and Greg and I were sitting next to each other in our lumberjack shirts. And right before they took the picture, the guy in front of me stood up. And so I don't have the souvenir of the picture.
You
with
use the
me.
AI. Use Philip's AI and create yourself. Put yourself in the...
Oh
There
yeah.
you go.
Say, put Cirina Catania in this photograph.
I want to be in that
Yeah.
camp
Was
photo.
that on the
Michael
visitor
Cumber
center
said
roof or whatever?
to use ChatGPT
Yeah.
to tell him to write something in my voice. He tried it in his voice, and he suggested that I should do it in my voice. And it was kind of uncanny. It was like I asked it for 5 paragraphs on compression in the style of Philip Hodgetts, and it did pretty much a pretty good imitation of my style. And so
Wow.
that's kind of
So
frightening.
it got your voice from the internet somewhere? Is that how it got it?
The tone,
Probably.
not my like the tone out, the way I write, not my actual speech.
Oh, the way you write. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in my voice is like a code word for
Got
that.
you.
So-
Gotcha. Thanks.
I think
Thanks for
you're-
the thumbs up, by the way. And some more thumbs up came in there. That's fantastic. So we've given away the 2 passes. Bruce says he lives local, and means he doesn't need transportation or a hotel. The other person said they're going to send me the information, their hotel, and who was it? Javasey 3, JVASEY 3. We'll be booking a hotel and we'll send you the info. So there you go. And everybody else, if you want 15% off if you're buying it outright. FCP Radio is a coupon code. It's only $299 to begin with. Down from $1,000 to $299 is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
I think Bruce should have to do a little bit more to earn his pass. I think Bruce needs to let us know what the best eating places are
that's a good
in
idea.
the area, since Bruce is
Or
a
he
local.
can- Bruce has to buy us all
Bruce, you
lunch
got
or
homework.
coffee. Bruce, you got to buy us all coffee. That's
Just
one of the.
give me the tips of what the best places that whatever Bruce likes to eat at. That's what I want to know.
No,
There you go.
Richard, we're meeting you in the morning for coffee. You're bringing the machine.
No, I'm not bringing a machine. I'm bringing an AeroPress. It's just a
okay.
tube. It's like a French press situation. I am bringing this stainless steel pour over kettle, and I get filtered water. I made a mistake at the Juniper one time, and I went across the street to Sprouts, the earthy, crunchy grocery store across the street, and I got water, and I used it, and it made horrible coffee. Horrible coffee. And I said, why does this coffee taste so bad? It was because of the water I was using. It was some kind of a spring thing with minerals and all that kind of nonsense. I said, oh, that's what it is. Here, anybody want some water? Take this. I got plain water, no additives, no minerals and all that, and it was fine. I couldn't figure it out. It says coffee tastes terrible. Is it my coffee? No. It was the water.
What kind
So
of coffee
tell me
are you
this.
bringing? Is it the Gavilia that you? What
No,
is it that you
I
like?
grind my own. I got a special blend. It's
gosh.
one of the beans is triple something. It's very, very dark, and the other one is Mocha Java from Pete's Columbia. I get one of the batches from New York. It's a roastery in New York, and then the Mocha Java that I blend in about a 25%. Triple threat, it's called. It is the darkest coffee I've ever seen in my life.
Ooh, I would
It
like
is
to write
really,
that
really
down.
good. But I like the Mocha Java just to temper the flavor a little bit. So I
Philip,
grind
you
up
don't
enough.
drink Bustelo anymore, right?
Pardon?
You don't. Philip and Greg don't drink Bustelo anymore. I drink Bustelo. Is that so gauche? Sorry.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Cuban coffee. It's Mexican or Cuban. It's a dark roast coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Bustelo. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't
I'm
remember
getting
what we were.
hungry. I'm
Well,
getting
that's
hungry.
exactly.
Coffee, where to eat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I'm going to be.
If you want,
I'll be
if you
getting
want
in
donuts
Sunday.
with your coffee.
We'll be in Sunday.
Oh
Yeah.
I
We have
do.
to go
donuts with your.
We're going to spend the night before in Paso Robles and see the Sensorio lighting exhibition. It's where they cover hillsides with animated lights and posts and wine bottles. So that's our trip up. And then Pinnacles National Park in the Sunday morning, which will be the first day of off daylight saving. So the night will come very early on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Good. Yeah.
So
Good
one of the
point.
things I want to mention before we get out of here is we'll go back to the schedule. This is the schedule. So here we go. Mark Spencer. Oh, look, they switched that up. They switched it up. It was Mark Spencer. Maybe it's Tuesday. No, they switched it up. It was Mark Spencer versus Steve Martin. I swear it was. I did it on my last. Now it's Jeff Greenberg. Steve Martin's here. So you have to choose one of these sessions. These are all live sessions. You got to choose. This class must be very popular. TBD. I see it all the time. I'm not sure what that is in Final Cut, but it's so these are all the sessions that they have. The tip sessions, of course, is all very, very popular. And then we have accessibility with Storm. And this is the one I wanted to bring out, though. Dialogue with Apple. Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team.
Yeah, I love that one.
Last session
Way to
of
keep
the
people at the
summit.
conference.
Last session. They can. Well, whatever. Typically, when we have these sessions, they had these sessions in the past. No cameras, no audio recording, no video recording, which is fine. And everything that's said in the room is supposed to stay in the room. And if they feel confident that that's the case, which there's no reason why they shouldn't, because we are very honest and upworthy, what's the word? Upstanding attendees. The more confident they feel, the more they will talk candidly to us about Final Cut Pro. And we could submit questions the day in advance, and they will use some of those questions. We can also ask live questions. It's a dialogue between the attendees and the Final Cut Pro team in the same room at the same time. And people say, well, how come you get to see it? Because we're paying, we're taking off work, we're getting hotels, we're making the transportation. This is specifically for the attendees of the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit.
Well, wouldn't you think that a lot of people there are often on an NDA anyway with them? A lot of beta testers, a lot of developers.
No, probably such a very small percentage of the total.
No, why would they come? They already know. They wouldn't.
Well, they would come because we're all together having sandwiches on the bus.
Right. But they would already be under pre-existing NDAs. They wouldn't.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I think a lot of us are part of the family, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess.
Right. But I mean, just like going to Apple Park, how would I get to Apple Park? I would never get to Apple Park. I mean, Tim Cook might invite me at some point, but he hasn't yet. But the same thing with this. A lot of people the majority of people are coming here are not tied into the Apple Final Cut Pro system. They're not tied into the team or betas and stuff. The majority of people are not. So this is, yeah. Same with me. I mean, I'm not, I couldn't be making predictions about Final Cut Pro if I was a part of the beta team, unless I was trying to skew the idea somewhere else.
It's a lot less fun when you
Richard's
actually
been subverting us for 5 years now.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, if you don't know what to do, just tell Tim Cook, Bradley Olsen personally, and you'll be fine.
He's got a little statue of Brad on his desk. I've seen it in one of the keynotes. He a little statue. See.
Brad, do you have a key to the office?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I've got to wrap up. So.
Okay. Yeah, we've been on here gabbing enough. So everybody, if you haven't got to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, this is the time to go. This is going to be a good year. And we haven't had it for 4 years in person. Haven't had it for 4 years. So, and you can talk to all of us. Just go and reach out to, it's not me, but everybody else. Just walk up to them and say, hey, Richard said you'd buy me a coffee if I talk to you. That's.
You have to bribe.
I think we should make a T-shirt. We'll do a T-shirt with the FMC logo on it that says, I know Bradley Olsen personally.
Oh, how this is. Okay. I'm not going to buy you a whole lot in the real world, but okay.
Yeah, Bruce said Tim has an Off the Tracks poster in his office.
I'm sure he does.
Oh, there you go. I've got one. I've got one of those.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced that Tim
Kickstarter backer.
I'm not convinced that Tim Cook knows what Final Cut Pro is. I'm not convinced that
Well, that's a little harsh.
Oh, you didn't
he knows.
say that.
No, he's looked at Steve Jobs handpicked him in the late 90s because of his supply chain stuff. So he knows about iPhones. He knows how to get. I mean, he gets my phone from China to my house in 2 days when it leaves. It's just incredible. But of course, that's just a joke. Of course, he knows what Final Cut Pro is.
Yeah.
Even though they don't edit their videos in Final Cut Pro, they use somebody. I think they use Avid.
It depends what videos are being edited.
Exactly.
The dub stuff is all done in Final Cut, but Apple TV Plus, well, they're being produced by the same studios that are producing for all of the rest of the streamers and everybody else. So they're using the familiar tools there, and in that environment, Media Composer has some compelling reasons why it works better in that environment. That's not to say that Final Cut is a bad thing or that it's a better thing. It's just a different thing, and I'm glad we have the choice.
Yes, absolutely. The deal is that I wouldn't want Apple to dictate what NLE their production companies use. You should just let the production company decide. Now, you may give them an
would.
incentive. you may give them an incentive and say, if you use Final Cut, we might give you a laptop, something like that, but not strong-arming people. What were you saying, Brad? You don't agree with that?
Oh, I would totally force them to use Final Cut Pro, but it's for their own good.
Yeah, I have somebody
think though, more seriously, if they incentivized studios that were producing shows for Apple TV Plus to use Final Cut Pro, and I think there's plenty of people in the community that could support that for them. I think that would create an interesting dialogue between the Final Cut Pro development team and those productions, and it would be a benefit to the entire Final Cut community, because I think the software would be forced to advance in certain ways. So I would be all for it, but the way they treat these is they're kind of like contracted, companies / some movies are just acquired after Sundance, so they had no involvement in the production of them. And even internally, I think there's definitely different tools being used for different projects. So
I have been in a room where that happened.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I have been in an edit bay where the engineers and senior Apple people were in the edit bay discussing the workflow. It was early on, and early projects were on Final Cut Pro 10 at the time. And we were part of that because they needed one of our tools to make the production work. So yeah, it happens. I don't know how often it happens. That was a few years ago.
Right. Well, regardless of my expectations for the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, as far as the expectations for the summit, I know it's going to be a great summit. Yeah. Whether there's a new version of Final Cut Pro, my expectations are tempered because of 2019. But I'm still thinking that there could be 10.7, at least a preview or something during the time. I'm not expecting it, and I'm not predicting it, and I'm not telling anybody this is what's going to happen. The possibility exists because 10.6 is 2 years old right now. 10.6 is 2 years old. So we'll see. We'll see. The summit's going to be great regardless.
Summit is going to be great.
Everybody's going to be there.
I'm going for the people.
Me too.
Yep, that's like you said earlier. It's the people you meet, and I think you're saying earlier that people are like, well, I don't know anybody. And for me, in 2015, when they were doing a Final Cut exchange across the street from NAB, I made a point to go to that. I introduced myself to people like Philip at that event. I've made lifelong friends through that. So if you're watching this radio show, there's some faces. We don't bite.
No, absolutely. We're a very friendly group of people. Most of us. There's a couple of curmudgeons, but I won't mention any names. But most of us are very, very friendly. All of us are, for sure. All of us are, for sure.
And it was definitely a really great career move to attend those events. You don't, just if you stay at home and you're reading things online, you'll get all the announcements and the information, but or most of it, there's certain things here that are unique to the Creative Summit, but I think the thing that you can't replicate is the in-person dialogue,
the
conversation,
serendipity of the in-person event, where you sit beside somebody on the bus, on the coach going to Apple Park, and
absolutely
they an idea, or they come up with something else. It's like it's always the serendipity. It's the unplanned that makes a conference worthwhile going to, and I expect to get some of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up today and not glitching the stream. Nobody glitched the stream. No, the internet was been working fine. I actually got one of the things in Ecamm Live, it has the stream health. It has a graph that shows how the stream is doing. Brad just froze up. It's okay. It's at the end. It's okay, Brad.
Brad. Thank you, Richard, for doing this.
Thanks, Richard.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. FMC. My pleasure. All my friends from Final Cut Pro Land in this summit. I'm so excited. I was so excited when they said they're going to do it this year in person.
Me too. Well, we'll see you shortly, right?
Yep. Less than 3 weeks. Right. It's 2 weeks from Sunday.
Wow.
Be flying in.
All right. Well, I'm going to go shoot with my iPhone and try it out and get ready for my other shoot. So I'll let you know.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks,
I'll
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody watching. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you. Bye, Richard. Thanks.
Bye.